narrated by Ibn Hibban in the book As-Zakat. This story is narrated from Abdullah bin Muhammad. It says, "One day I was in the border area of Arish region in Egypt. I saw a small tent, which from its tent showed that the owner was a very poor person. Then I went to the tent that was in the desert, to see what's inside. Then I saw a man, but not an ordinary man. The condition of this man is lying with his hands and feet swollen. His ears are hard to hear, his eyes are blind, and there is nothing left, only his tongue that speaks. From his mouth the man said, 'O Lord, give me inspiration to always be grateful for your favors that you have bestowed on me, and you really glorify me from your other creations.' Then I went to him and said to the man, 'O my brother, which of God's favors are you grateful for?' Then the man who owns the tent replied, 'O my brother, shut up. For God's sake. If God had brought the sea would drown me. Or there will be a volcanic eruption that will surely burn me, or the sky will fall on me which will surely crush me. I won't say anything but words of gratitude.' And I asked again, 'Grateful for what?' The man who owned the tent answered again, 'Don't you see? He has given me a tongue that always praises him and is grateful. Besides that, I also have a child who during worship he always leads me to the mosque and he also feeds me. But he hasn't come back here for 3 days. Can you please find him?' I agreed and went to look for his son. After a long time of searching, I found a corpse surrounded by lions, and it turns out, the lion has eaten the body. I'm confused. How can I tell about her son's fate to the man who owns the tent?" I went back and told him, "Oh my brother, have you heard about the story of the Prophet Ayub?" The man who owned the tent replied, "Yes, I know the story." Then I asked again, "Indeed God has given him a trial in his property matters. How is his condition in the face of that calamity?" He replied, "Yes, he faced patiently." I ask again, "Oh my brother, God has tested the Prophet Ayub with poverty. How is the condition?" He answered, "He faced it patiently." I asked again, "And he was tested with the death of all his children. And how was he?" He replied, "Yes, he faced patiently." I also asked him again. He was also tested with a disease in his body. And how is he? He answered, and asked back. He was patient. And now tell me, where is my son? And I said, "Indeed, I have found your son among the sand dunes in a state that has been torn apart and eaten by wild animals. May God multiply your reward, and give patience in your heart." Then the man who owns the tent said, "Alhamdulillah. And he did not leave offspring for me who disobeyed Allah until he was punished in hell." Then he took a deep breath and died. I laid him down and thought, what should I do? I am alone, and how do I take care of this corpse? Then I cover it with my robe. And a few moments later 4 horsemen passed by. They said, "Brother, what happened to you?" Then I also told what I experienced. And I asked for their help to take care of this man's corpse. They asked, "Who is he?" Then I answered, "I don't know him either. He is in a sick condition and his condition is very sad." Then these 4 men asked to remove the cloth covering the face of the corpse of the man who owned the tent, because maybe one of them knew him. And when I removed the cloth covering his face, suddenly they gasped, then kissed and wept and said, "Subhanallah, a face that always prostrates to Allah, eyes that always bow to what Allah has forbidden, A body that is always awake in the middle of the night when everyone is sleeping. And I immediately asked, "You know this person?" They replied, "You don't know him?" I answered that I don't know who this man is. Then they said, "This is Abu Kilaba, friend of Ibn Abbas. This man was once asked to be a judge by the Khalifa, but he refused the position. It is necessary to know that the position of judge or qadi is a special position, where they will set the law and determine the law among men. This was a noble position at that time. But Abu Kilaba refused and went to Egypt until he died in such a state. Then Abdullah bin Muhammad and the 4 people bathed his body and covered and wrapped his body with a shroud, and performed the funeral prayer before finally burying him. It is said in another story that this Abu Kilaba was the last companion of the Prophet at that time, so the Caliph wanted to make him a judge. Hope it is useful.